Something extraordinary happened in 1995 that most collectors completely missed. While the world was buzzing about the internet going mainstream and Windows 95 launching, the US Mint was quietly producing dimes that would become some of the most talked about coins in modern collecting circles. You see, 1995 marked a pivotal moment in American coinage, not because of any dramatic design changes or minting errors, but because of what didn't happen. For the first time in decades, certain varieties of the Roosevelt dime became genuinely scarce in ways that would surprise even seasoned collectors. Picture this. It's 1995, and most Americans are focused on the digital revolution. Personal computers are finally becoming household items, and people are starting to hear whispers about something called the World Wide Web. Meanwhile, at mints across the country, something much quieter but equally significant was unfolding. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were operating at different production levels than previous years. Economic factors, changing spending patterns, and shifting demands for coinage created an unusual situation. While millions of dimes were still being produced, certain characteristics of the 1995 production run would later make collectors take serious notice. Here's what most people don't realize. The 1995 Roosevelt dime represents a bridge between the heavy production years of the 1980s and early 1990s and the more controlled mintages that would follow. This transitional status has created opportunities that sharp-eyed collectors recognized years before the general public caught on. Let's start with the 1995 Philadelphia dime, the one without a mint mark. In numismatic circles, we often see mintage numbers that seem astronomical. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 2.1 billion dimes in 1995. That sounds like a lot, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Raw mintage numbers only tell part of the story. What matters more is survival rate, condition rarity, and collector demand. Think about it. How many 1995 dimes do you remember seeing in pristine, uncirculated condition? Not many, because most went straight into circulation, getting handled, dropped, and worn down through everyday use. The Philadelphia Mint's 1995 production featured several characteristics that make high-grade examples particularly appealing. The strike quality was generally excellent, with sharp details on Roosevelt's profile and clear separation in the torch flames on the reverse. When you find a mint state example, what collectors call MS-65 or higher, you're looking at a coin that represents the Philadelphia Mint at its technical best. But here's the kicker. Finding these coins in top condition has become increasingly challenging. Most circulated examples show the typical wear patterns you'd expect. Softening of Roosevelt's hair details, one of the high points of the torch, and that telltale loss of mint luster that happens when coins spend years in commerce. Now, the Denver Mint's 1995 D dimes present a completely different collecting opportunity. With a D mint mark positioned just above the date, these coins had a smaller mintage of about 1.1 billion, roughly half of Philadelphia's output. What makes a 1995 D particularly interesting is the strike characteristics from that year. Denver was transitioning some of its equipment and procedures, resulting in coins that often show slightly different surface qualities compared to their Philadelphia counterparts. Some collectors specifically seek out 1995 D dimes because of these subtle technical differences. The Denver Mint's 1995 production also coincided with changes in quality control procedures. This means that mint state examples often display exceptional eye appeal. That combination of sharp strikes, clean surfaces, and original mint luster that serious collectors prize above all else. Here's where the 1995 dime story becomes really compelling for collectors. While circulated examples are plentiful and relatively affordable, the gap between common grades and premium conditions is significant. A typical 1995 dime in average circulated condition might be worth face value or slightly more to a type collector. But step up to MS-65, that's mint state with only minor imperfections visible under magnification, and you're looking at coins that command real premiums. MS-67 examples, those with exceptional strikes and virtually flawless surfaces, represent the top tier for this issue. These coins showcase the Roosevelt dime design at its finest. Crisp details in Roosevelt's hair, sharp definition in the torch flames, and that brilliant, untouched luster that only comes from perfect preservation. Professional grading services like PeaceGS and NGC have certified thousands of 1995 dimes over the years, but the population reports tell an interesting story. While MS 64 and MS 65 examples are available, the numbers drop off significantly at MS 66 and higher grades. Fast forward to today's collecting market, and the 1995 dime occupies a unique position. It's not a key date in the traditional sense. You won't find it listed among the great rarities of American numismatics. But that's exactly what makes it intriguing for modern collectors. This coin represents what many call a sleeper in the Roosevelt dime series. It's affordable enough for collectors to acquire in multiple grades, yet scarce enough in premium condition to offer genuine collecting satisfaction. Type collectors appreciate it as a representative example of 1990s minting technology, while series collectors value it as part of a complete Roosevelt set. The market has shown steady, sustained interest in high-grade 1995 dimes. Auction results over the past few years demonstrate that collectors are willing to pay meaningful premiums for exceptional examples. This isn't speculation, it's recognition of genuine condition rarity. From an investment standpoint, the 1995 dime offers something that many modern issues lack: a clear value proposition based on scarcity and collector demand rather than artificial manipulation or temporary hype. The fundamentals are solid. Limited numbers exist in top grades, collector interest remains strong, and the coins represent excellent value compared to earlier key dates in the Roosevelt series. For collectors building type sets or completing series, the 1995 dime fills an important role without requiring enormous financial commitment. The 1995 dime proves that modern coins can offer genuine collecting opportunities for those who know what to look for. Quality, condition, and understanding market dynamics matter more than raw age when building a meaningful collection. But if you think the 1995 dime has an interesting story, wait until you discover what happened 5 years earlier. The 1990 dime has characteristics that make the 95 look common by comparison. It involves one of the most dramatic shifts in minting practices that most collectors never even realized occurred. Picture this. You're a coin collector in 1974, Nixon's about to resign, and the U.S. Mint just produced what might be the strangest Roosevelt dime error in American history. Here's what actually happened, and why collectors today are still hunting through rolls of dimes hoping to strike it rich. The year 1974 was turbulent for America. We had Watergate dominating headlines, an energy crisis changing how people lived, and inflation hitting everyone's wallet hard. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was dealing with its own crisis: a shortage of qualified dime makers and increased demand for circulated coins. At the Denver Mint, something extraordinary occurred during the production of Roosevelt dimes. Due to a combination of human error and equipment malfunction, a small number of 1974 D dimes were struck using an aluminum planchet instead of the standard copper-nickel composition. Now, you might be thinking, so what? Different metal, big deal. But here's why this matters more than you might imagine. Aluminum dimes weren't supposed to exist. Period. The U.S. Mint had experimented with aluminum since in 1974. That's a whole different story. But aluminum dimes? That was never part of any official program. Yet somehow, a few aluminum blanks intended for experimental purposes found their way into the Roosevelt dime production line. The first confirmed 1974 aluminum dime surfaced in the late 1980s when a collector named Robert Thompson was going through a bag of circulated dimes he'd purchased from a bank. He noticed one dime felt different, lighter, almost weightless compared to the others. When he tested it, he discovered it was made of aluminum. Thompson initially thought he'd found a fake or some kind of novelty item. Aluminum dimes weren't documented anywhere in numismatic literature. He contacted several coin dealers, and most dismissed his find as either a damaged coin that had been altered or a foreign coin that somehow got mixed into U.S. circulation. But Thompson persisted. He sent the coin to the American Numismatic Association's authentication service, and the results shocked the numismatic community. Not only was the coin genuine, but metallurgical analysis confirmed it was struck on aluminum planchet using official U.S. mint dies. Here's where the story gets even more interesting. Over the next decade, two more 1974 aluminum dimes surfaced. Each discovery followed a similar pattern. Collectors finding them in circulation or bank-wrapped rolls, initially questioning their authenticity, then having their suspicions confirmed through professional analysis. The mint has never officially acknowledged these coins, which adds to their mystique and value. Unlike the well-documented 1974 aluminum cents, which the mint admits to producing as experiments, the aluminum dimes exist in a sort of numismatic gray area. So how do you identify a 1974 aluminum dime if you're lucky enough to encounter one? First, weight is your best indicator. A normal copper-nickel Roosevelt dime weighs 2.268 grams. An aluminum version weighs less than half that, around 1.0 gram. If you have a precision scale and a 1974 D dime that feels unusually light, you might have something extraordinary. Visually, aluminum dimes have a slightly different appearance than their copper-nickel counterparts. The aluminum versions display a more brilliant, almost silvery luster that's distinctly different from the typical appearance of Roosevelt dimes. The surface texture is also subtly different. Aluminum takes dye impressions differently than copper-nickel, creating slightly sharper detail definition. But here's the challenge. You can't definitively identify an aluminum dime without professional testing. The visual differences are subtle enough that lighting conditions, wear, and individual perception can all affect what you're seeing. If you suspect you have a 1974 aluminum dime, your next step should be professional authentication. The cost of having a coin professionally examined might seem steep, typically $50 to $100, but considering what you might have, it's a worthwhile investment. Current market values for authenticated 1974 aluminum dimes are staggering. The most recent public sale occurred in 2019, when one brought $456,000 at auction. That's not a typo. Nearly $500,000 for a dime. The extreme rarity explains the price. Fewer than 5 examples are confirmed to exist, making this one of the rarest coins in American numismatic history. For comparison, there are more 1933 double eagles known to exist than 1974 aluminum dimes. From an investment perspective, 1974 aluminum dimes represent the ultimate numismatic lottery ticket. The odds of finding one are astronomical, but the payoff is life-changing. Unlike other rare coins that trade hands among established collectors, these aluminum dimes occasionally surface in the most unexpected places. Bank tellers have found them. Coin roll hunters have discovered them. Even casual collectors sorting through inherited coins have stumbled across them. Each discovery reminds us that extraordinary coins can still be found through patience, knowledge, and a bit of luck. The controversy surrounding these coins adds another layer to their appeal. Since the mint doesn't officially acknowledge their existence, questions remain about exactly how they were produced and how they entered circulation. Were they mint errors, unauthorized strikes, experimental pieces that accidentally got released? The mystery may never be fully solved, but that uncertainty only increases collector interest and market value. For everyday collectors, the lesson of the 1974 aluminum dime is clear. Never assume a coin is ordinary based on its date or design. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries look completely normal until you examine them more closely. Whether you're sorting through change, buying bankrolls, or examining estate collections, keep that 1974 date in mind. Check the weight of any 1974 D. Roosevelt dimes you encounter. Pay attention to their appearance and luster. The next 1974 aluminum dime is out there somewhere, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize what they've found. It could be sitting in a coffee can in someone's garage, or it might turn up in the next roll of dimes you buy from your local bank. The beauty of coin collecting lies in these possibilities. While most of us will never find a $500,000 dime, the hunt itself connects us to America's monetary history and keeps alive the dream that the next great discovery is just one coin flip away.